everybody, Charles for HumbleMechanic.com, back with another episode of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. It's been a little while since I last actually talked to you guys. I posted a show on Monday, but I had recorded that a few weeks ago back when I was at ASE, and I've been traveling and whatnot, so a little bit behind on shows, but I thought I'd hop on my way home and chat with you guys a little bit and kind of fill you in on what's been going on. You'll notice that it's a little bit different view today. Rather than the camera facing me, I got the camera facing out onto the road. Hopefully that's kind of a cool view. I checked it on my GoPro app, and it looks like I might want it a little bit closer to the windshield so you have a little bit more full view of my view, and rather than about, I don't know, 20% of the dashboard or whatever. But I'm working it out, so hopefully this is cool. Hopefully it's something a little different for you guys to see rather than having to look at my face while while you're watching the video. And now that it's dark, well before I leave work, the camera backwards videos don't work quite as well. So we're going to test drive this and see what you guys think. Let me know. Post your thoughts in the comments and see if I can't fine-tune it a little bit. I've seen some videos of guys sticking GoPros up on the sunroof and actually recording upside down, and there's a setting in the GoPro where you can flip it and record it upside down on the camera. But this isn't a GoPro podcast, it's an automotive podcast, so let's get back to talking about cars. Like I mentioned, the last show I actually published, I recorded, I forget if it was on my drive to or from Virginia for ASE. I've talked a lot about ASE and the tests and how all that works, so I'm not going to rehash too much of that. But that was now 3 weeks ago. Must have been 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to fly to Austin, Texas for the Formula One race, which was an incredibly cool experience. Had an opportunity to hang out with my old pals, Eric the Car Guy, Audra from Women Auto Know, Jason from Engineering Explained, Chris from ASE, Jesse from UTI. He's an education manager at UTI in Dallas, I believe. And all the awesome folks at Shell. Everybody was super cool. F1 racing is incredibly fun to watch. We had great seats. We got to go in the paddock and do a tour of the Ferrari garage. I got to see inside the Shell trackside lab where they actually analyze fuel and oil that come out of the Formula One cars, which was neat. We got to see Fernando and Kimi race the couple of Shell Eco Marathon cars around a closed down Shell gas station, which was super cool. You know, you're watching some of the fastest drivers in the world race some of the slowest cars in the world, but F1's all about, innovation and fuel economy, and that's really cool. And I got some video of that, so hopefully I'll have that video processed and ready to go soon. There's kind of a lot of downtime video in some of these things, so I'm trying to edit out that and only deliver the good stuff for you guys. So the trip to Shell was incredible. I spent, I think, 4 days, 5 days, 4 days. Yeah, it was 4 days. 4 days out there, checking out Circuit of the Americas, which is an incredibly beautiful racetrack. I'm really into that. Hopefully, I'll have the opportunity to go back next year. The city of Austin is beautiful. You're 5 or 6 blocks from the Capitol. You got to walk down to the Capitol building and get a picture of that. Let's see, what else did we do? Had a ton of good food. Texas barbecue is really great. You guys know me. I was able to procure myself some local beer to bring home and scored some bonus points for that. The folks at Shell and Ferrari, Shell always rolls the red carpet out for me, and I truly do appreciate that. Being surrounded by everything Ferrari for the weekend is not terrible whatsoever. Plus being around some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Just top-notch, stellar people, the kind of people you want to hang around with all the time. Those guys are all super cool. Shout out to, again, Eric and Jason and Audra, Jesse, Chris. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. And man, I'm going to be in trouble if I forget someone. But everyone in our group, all you guys were awesome. Scotty Kilmer, that's the one I was forgetting. It's always a trip being around Scotty Kilmer. If you guys haven't watched any of his videos, check him out. He is definitely the character in real life that he is on video. So that's always fun. But the shell experience was cool. Being in the trackside lab was really, really incredible. Learning from, all the incredibly intelligent people that work for Shell and work with Ferrari, and do that. I got a few interview type things that I'm working on editing and posting here soon. So the next 2 weeks, I didn't want to just download everything Shell and Ferrari all at once, so I'm trying to space it out a little bit for you guys so I don't bore you with some of that, even though a lot of it is incredibly cool. After the Shell event last week, it was kind of back to reality. I don't know if you guys seen the picture, but I was working on our general manager's Bentley and somehow managed to break the back window of his car. So that is a $2,400 oops. I think later on in the week I'm going to record a podcast about how to deal with mistakes like that, because they do happen. You try and keep them to a minimum, but man, breaking a $2,400 back glass, it hurts. So not to mention it's really embarrassing, and luckily our general manager is super cool, and I'm sure he wasn't happy. My service manager wasn't real happy about it, but we make mistakes happen. It's part of doing business. I was being as careful as I could, but at the end of the day, it's my fault, and I'm willing to hold that responsibility bag totally. So enough of that, because I don't really want to talk about it anymore. Saturday was Dubs for a Cause at one of the local tuning shops called Apex Tuning. Great bunch of guys. Mike and Michelle that kind of run the whole Dubs for a Cause thing did an incredible job. Awesome group of sponsors. It's cool to see this event grow every year. I've been a sponsor every year, actually, on the blog, which is cool. It was the first time I ever had my logo on anything that wasn't just like a piece of paper or online. So to have it on a t-shirt from that was really, really cool. But to see that event grow is just so great, and I love the cause. I love people coming out, hanging out, showing their cars, and it's all for charity, which is really cool. And I need to do a full just blog post about that and throw some pictures up online. The Cabby came in second in the most low car contest, the limbo contest, and that was cool. The winner had, I think, 11 or 12 people loaded up in his car and let a bunch of air out of the tires, but some people do whatever it takes to win. I wanted to, if the Cabby was going to win, I wanted her to win the way I drive her. So it was still fun. Who cares who wins or loses and stuff like that. Again, it's for charity, and it was a blast. It was a blast to do. So that was cool. I realized I have quite a few electrical bugs going on in the Cabby. I don't know if that's from having it sit for a few months, or the battery being completely dead, or what's going on. I haven't really had time to dive into exactly what's going on, but basically the quick rundown is the cluster, the instrument panel cluster is not happy. Turn signals don't work. The turn signal indicator is like half lit. When you pull the high beams, the the coolant light flashes. So we got a whole lot of fun stuff going on in there. It could be something as simple as maybe a blown fuse or a loose ground. Odds are it's not just a blown fuse. I'm kind of leaning at this point more towards a loose ground. Those clusters are like a printed circuit. There's resistors in there in the circuitry, so the car's an 88, so we're creeping up on almost 30 years old. I'm sure it's not not as spry as it used to be. So we may have some issues in there. I have another cluster that I'm going to test and see what that means as far as diagnosis. The dash panel's probably coming back out. The lower kick panel's probably coming back out. The center console is probably coming back out. And luckily on that car, it's all very, very easy to disassemble. And I'll probably remove all that stuff, plug all my my switches, my instrument cluster, and everything back in, and see if we can't trace down what's going on. Hopefully it's something simple. You never know with older cars and weird electrical problems like that. It'll probably be a good opportunity for me to install some sort of radio or something while I have everything apart, run some new wires for that, and get that squared away. What else is going on with the Cabby? She runs great. I've developed a little bit of a leak in the axle flange seals in the transmission, which will be something that needs to be addressed. I also have a whine in fourth gear. You guys may remember that I went through the engine of the Cabby completely, the VR6, but I never really did anything with the transmission. So depending on how deep I need to go in the wiring issues with the Cabby over the winter, I may pop the transmission out and go through that as well. I'm not sure I want to commit a ton of money to make repairs to the transmission. I may just find another box and rebuild that one so there's no downtime. But we'll see. If I could find one with a limited slip, that'd be pretty awesome. But who knows? I'm not really committed to doing much of anything to the transmission at this point, except fix those leaking axle flange seals. And my oil leak from the oil filter housing, or the oil cooler, I think it was, that I replaced over the summer's holding great. Haven't really done anything with the interior. The carpet is starting to come apart. That carpet was out of the black Cabby that some of you guys might remember. If you guys are wondering, I forget there's a ton of new people every day, and the audience keeps growing, which is super great. Thank you guys for all that. But for those of you that don't know, last year, it was the year before, me and you guys all kind of sitting back and watching the show, started a VR6 swap in a 1988 Volkswagen Cabriolet that I bought at a charity auction, like kind of third party at a charity auction. But I went through, rebuilt the entire engine. It's a AAA VR6 out of a 97 GTI, 97, 98, something like that. I don't remember the exact model. And in order to get some other parts that had kind of fallen short on this Cabby, I bought an 84 Cabby and gutted that, stripped down all the parts, and used a bunch of stuff from the black one, which was the 84, into the red one, which is the 88, which is the one with the VR. Hopefully by now you've seen some pictures of it, and it's pretty interesting. It was a kid's art project, so there's some cool stuff on there. But that's pretty much where she sits. I'll put a link to the Cabby section. I think we called it the Love-A-Dub project on the blog, and I'll post a link to that in the video notes, both on YouTube and on the blog. If you're on the blog, you can just scroll up to the top, and right about where it says Shop Shots and behind the wrench, you'll see a tab that says Love-A-Dub. So check that out if you're into the Cabby project thing. It was a ton of fun, and we're still working the bugs out. It's a project car, so as you guys know that do project cars, it is forever a project. But anyway, guys, that's kind of the last few weeks. I feel like I hadn't talked to you in a while, so I thought I'd just drop a quick show today, and just give you a heads up on what's been going on. I'm going to try and do a ton of work the next 2 days. I got a pretty cool collaboration coming out with Jason from Engineering Explained. He has an incredible YouTube channel that he basically whiteboards everything and explains how cars work, and it's It's so simple and so brilliant, and he's a razor sharp dude. Highly recommend checking him out. I'll put a link to all his stuff both on the blog and on YouTube, and look for that. That'll be about VR6s, and that should be a blast to do, and I'm looking forward to doing a little fun collaboration with Jason. As always, your guys' comments and questions are more than welcome. I always appreciate them. Feedback is good too. Anything I can do to make your viewing and listening experience better, I'll try and do. If you guys do have those questions or comments, there's a couple ways you can get them to me. Always feel free to post them in the comments section, either on YouTube or on the blog or on Facebook. On the blog is the best way because I get an email alert, so I can catalog it a little bit better. You can email me directly, charles@humblemechanic.com. You can hit me on all the social medias, obviously YouTube, because that's probably where you're watching this. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I gave that Ella a try. I didn't really get it, but we'll see how that develops. But again, the best way is just to shoot me an email, charles@humblemechanic.com. You can be sure I'll get it. If you don't hear from me in a day or two, fire me another email in case it gets lost in the big old spam bot that is my email provider and the service that I use on my phone and on my desktop at home. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know your thoughts on this view here. I stopped in a parking lot because I got to run into the store really quick. But let me know what you guys think about this. Maybe different camera position. We can fool around with some stuff. There's plenty I can do on the GoPro. But like I said, previous time's at a premium, so I want to make sure I get content to you guys any way that I possibly can. And even though I think I can do a better job at home, I enjoy these videos a little bit more, actually. And the only bad part is you might get a little more of my rambling. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.